Okay, folks, today is April the 10th of 2019, and as you can see, there's Plecky the Pleco, and you may notice that there's not any plants behind him, other than just a leaf to the side over there. Reason for that is that I was having a little bit of trouble with the filter, and it started making a horrid grinding sound. Now this grinding was so bad that I still have a slight migraine from it. And I could not get it to stop, couldn't get it to stop. But I finally did, and it took a little bit on doing that because my female apple snail over here, not only did she have 2 batches of eggs, she laid a 3rd one, and I spotted it today. But what I didn't know is that she had actually laid 4 other clutches. I had no clue she had laid these other clutches. And they had started to hatch, and it was actually the baby snails getting sucked into the filter and jamming up the propeller. So I had to completely remove the entire filter, and that's when I discovered the babies attached to the underside of the filter, as well as the glass behind the filter. Now, you may notice that there's no plants up here at the top of the tank. That's because I ended up cleaning out and redoing the tank and trying to fetch out babies as much as possible, which I was not very successful on. I did get the plants removed. I was going to trim them anyway, and I went ahead and decided to redo the tank as well. Just, kind of re-landscaped it a little bit. You can see I've got some Java moss over here, completely buried into the ground now. The 2 foxtails that were in the front are now in the back corner, trimmed down. They've got some new growth coming up on those. So those are actually going to go flow up the back of the tank into that corner there. These 2 plants will stay the same height. They are at their max height. They will be a nice contrast with the foxglove behind them, and then these here in the front, and then the short Java moss in the front to make a little jungle there. There'll be a little bit of this nice little fibergrass is starting to grow kind of nicely. I've got 3 little patches, one here, here, and here. Once these start spreading out some more, and they'll start to growing, because all I started was just a tiny little patch like this, just a tiny one, and now it's that big. So this is going to spread, and it'll fill that in a little bit, and it'll be a little grassy area there. As for Plecky's rock, this is the original Java moss that I had attached to it, but I had another huge clump that came loose from it because it wasn't attached, so I reattached it to the rock as well, and it's kind of cascading down on the other side. I want to pull it a little bit forward, but I'm not going to do that. And then there's this lovely batch of Java moss, which is now growing so nicely. It is on a rock, but it is now placed down into the tank as well. Now, as for the tall flowing plants that had the nice burgundy leaves and starting to get the green tops, well, I have trimmed those out, and I've took some of the babies and I've replanted them in a small cluster here in the back. As you can see, there's one here, here, and here. And I'm going to let those grow up and let them fill in this corner, kind of like where you see this plant that is exactly like it in the background. it's going to fill in and it's going to go up to the top of the tank as well. But as you can see, Green Bean and Doofus over here are extremely ecstatic. They are zipping around every which way because they love it when the tank gets redone. And they get all kinds of excited, and if this keeps up, they might actually even lay eggs. I'm not sure this time. But they are actually acting like they want to do that. So we'll keep their eyes on there. Now, I know you're probably wondering, what is that on the filter intake? Well, let me give you a good idea as to what that is. That is tape. And the reason that's on there is because this intake fell off. I had completely did the tank. I'd completely cleaned everything. But for some reason, it would not stay attached at all. And quite literally, just after it had fell off, I had took off the lid of the tank. I set it to the side. I picked it up from the bottom of the tank. I put it back on. And then suddenly I noticed that Bob was missing. And I was like, wait a minute, where did he go? And the filter was on. I didn't turn it off when I was reattaching the pipe. And suddenly that started making a horrid noise again. And I immediately shut it off. And from inside the pipe, out popped Bob. In his crazy, I love the new tank enthusiasm, he must have swum right in front of it just as the pipe had fell off and got sucked up into it. I was in sheer panic because when he come out, he looked like he was bent in a C shape. His fin, bottom fin and everything was all wavy and curled out. And he just was not very active at all. And this literally happened only maybe an hour ago. But as you can see, he is now active. He is now swimming around. I did get a good look at his back, because you can see that stripe that's actually along his spine there. That stripe. And luckily he's not got any broken bones in there or anything like that. But he did lose a few scales on his side, and his bottom fin is tore in one spot. Now, to make sure that he doesn't get an infection because of having lost the scales, I went ahead and I put a little bit of Melafix in, a little bit of an antibiotic to help him, just in case, just as a preventative, so that he'll be okay. And I'm really hoping that he does, okay. He seems to be acting fine right now, so that's really good. It's really good that he's acting more normal. More normal self. But if you've probably not noticed as of yet, there is only the one apple snail in here, and that is the female. And right now she is just doing something crazy like she normally does. My birthday was a couple days ago. And it was right after, the day after I had made the last video. And I come over to the tank, and my male apple snail had passed away. And so he wasn't here for the 6th clutch that was laid today. But as with all apple snails, the females can actually carry the sperm of the male snail inside of her for over 6 months to a year. And she can actually lay eggs whenever she wants by doing that. So even though he is gone, she may still continue to lay more eggs, which means I'm going to have to watch this tank even closer and do a daily routine of using a mirror or something to look under the filter to make sure she's not putting more clutches under the filter. So I'm going to watch and keep my eyeballs on that. Now, unfortunately, the babies from the April 7th video did in fact escape from the breeder box. So they are currently inside the tank somewhere. They are the small as a pin, and they look the same color as the sand. So all these little sand pellets and little tiny bits of pea gravel and everything, there is no telling whether that is actually sand or if it is a baby snail. I don't know. In fact, that looks like it might be a baby right there in the front. I'm not quite sure, but it could be. But also, so you see, I no longer have a shrimp breeder in here. And the reason for that is because the larvae unfortunately did not make it from mom's number 4, 3, 1, and 2. Mom number 5, however, is still pregnant. And I went ahead and I released her into the tank, which she has chosen this this Java moss right here as her spot. This is her spot. She seems to be enjoying this spot. So she may end up having her babies in that Java moss. I am not going to keep trying to do that because the top of my tank was a disaster. However, I did notice just a moment ago that one of the other females that was not pregnant has actually started to lay eggs. Here she is, right here. You can see her belly. She literally has 3 eggs right now. Just 3 in her belly. And we do have a male. He is right there. You can see him just in front of that food pellet. Or at least you can see 2 black eyeballs and an outline of a body. And most likely he'll be the one to fertilize those eggs. As Mama is sitting over here, you can see she is still quite full of eggs. And quite full of babies. And anyway, it was really hard, having lost all those, but at the same time, we had added some water to the tank for a water change, and for some oddball reason, mom number 3 and mom number 4 both passed away. And after delivering their babies, mom number 1 and mom number 2 both passed away as well. So, unfortunately, we ended up losing 4 of those along with the babies. I am hoping that this female and the newly pregnant female will be able to replenish everything. But as for this little breeder box right here, this is the new babies from the clutches that I found behind the filter. Now, a lot of those, because they were not in the hatchery, they had dried out too much. And so the babies didn't develop very well, or they died inside their eggs. However, these made it. These little babies survived. You can see there's a whole group of them over there in the corner. There's some here in the front. There's, looks like 3 around this food pellet. There's 3 more in that back corner. There's 2 there. There's 1 crawling up the wall right there. There was another one up here on the front, but it looks like he's climbed up. Yep, there he is. He climbed it down to the bottom. Get this thing to focus right there. Yep, here he is right there in the bottom. And I did see a baby a moment ago climbing on the inside of the fish tank, which I think is right there. That's the baby climbing on the tank. Little tiny thing, no bigger than a pinhead or the ball of an ink pen. But, nope, sorry about the fingers. But anyway, it's been a complete roller coaster over the last few days. Between the shrimp giving birth and then my male snail passing away, then finding a buku of baby snails, and then Bob getting hurt in the filter. I'm hoping that he's going to be okay. He seems to be right now. So I'm just going to keep my eyes on him. And all these beautiful little plants are going to really kick off. And once they get bigger, it's just going to really make the tank pop a lot more. Now, as for our clutch of eggs that was laid this morning and the clutch that was already in here, I still have those going. That's the new clutch there. That's the clutch from the other day. When they are ready to hatch, then we'll be able to pull those out as well, and they'll go into the box. And then once they're ready to leave the box, they will climb on out. Just like that one right there. Who wants to climb out of the box? He's just so tiny you cannot get a good look at him. But he's just right there. Anyway, till next time, folks, have fun. And I hope you enjoy.